let's say I'm in the competition with 3 other agents, and let's just say I've lost it to someone else. This happened before, right?
Of course.
But if I've lost it to another incredible agent,
Oh, true.
I'm not sad about it.
Yeah.
If I've lost it to a John, Dick, and Harry guy, I just genuinely feel sad.
Yeah, for sure.
Those
You
sellers.
feel bad for the seller.
Because I can see what's going to happen with that. And then now there's going to be a reputation issue with agents, because our reputation in this business, like any entrepreneurial business, is everything.
It's everything. I'm Cynthia Ostos, team leader and broker at eXp Realty here in the Greater Toronto Area. Welcome to Beyond the Sale, a real estate podcast where we discuss everything beyond the sale. Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Sale. I am here with an amazing woman. I don't even know that she knows how amazing she is. Samantha Read, a top agent, amazing mother, friend. You're just so wonderful. So thank you for coming on the podcast today. I'm so excited to have you here.
Well, thanks, Cynthia. I firmly believe it takes one to know one. So all the things that you just said, I'm echoing back to you.
Thank you so much. We've been friends since, I feel like, obviously I must have called you out of the blue. I feel like I remember being like, I need to talk to this woman because you were selling a lot of real estate, crushing it out there. I think we had a listing maybe in the same neighborhood, maybe Lisgar, I feel like.
Lisgar.
And I wanted to just chat with you, get to know you a little bit. And you were so easy to talk to and just an open book and so experienced. And I loved getting to know you. And I mean, we've been friends ever since. I feel like were we at the same brokerages same time?
We were never at the same brokerage at the same time.
What?
Yeah, we just created our own pathway of friendship.
Yes.
We didn't need to be in the same brokerage to be friends. It was, I believe, 2012 or 2013. So we're probably going back just over a decade.
Wow. I know before we were moms, we were friends.
Oh, yeah.
Because
Absolutely.
I actually remember you coming to my house in Mississauga and I was showing you Isla's nursery, or like there was some component of the nursery, like a tour.
Yeah.
And then you told me you were expecting. So I remember that. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah. It's bringing tears to my eyes just thinking about it.
Yeah.
Sharing those moments with each other, progression through.
It's been amazing. And then I moved to Georgetown where that's your hood.
Yeah.
And I know we meant to hang out more, but we're just busy. Like life
is also COVID.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of restrictions put into place,
Mm-hmm.
and we both had children at the same time.
We did.
And we both had, businesses to run on top of a household to run, creating our own support systems.
We were talking off camera how women like Sam and myself that crush it in real estate and have families and children, like we are another category on its own.
Superheroes.
Like just because I think that when you achieve the level of success that we do, and on top of that, build the team and have a family, you've got your little guy, and like I just feel like it's not on par with someone that's, let's say, the opposite sex, or dare I say, that's crushing it at the same level. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
So I think in general, if you can just wake up and try to be better every day than you were the day before and make things easier on yourself. I find women like us, we can definitely try to do all the things at once, which may, something's going to fall. Something's going to crash and burn. And typically it's behind the scenes of work because we always have to, put our best foot forward with our clients. And once you have tried all the different avenues at our point in life and point in this career, you figure out which ones work and which ones don't, and making sure the balls don't drop. And in order for the balls not to drop, you got to learn which ones are you going to juggle.
Yeah, prioritizing.
Actually make sense in the end.
Yeah.
And I think this is we started in our 20s in this business, right? So full of energy, no children, try everything, figure out what's going to work. And luckily we built a business that was sustainable, and we tried all the things before we had children. So we waited a little bit longer. I think we were about the same age when we had our first. We weren't in our 20s having children like many people are. And there's good things about that too, because you're going to have so much energy to play. And you're still going to have a little bit of imagination. When you're like 35, you're kind of a bit more analytical, like black and white. And but you do have a lot more patience.
Yeah.
So
for sure.
That's the turnoff, right? But I think just being a mom, a leader, a friend, a sister, whatever it is you are, holding all those things, you have to prioritize what is the most important thing right now. And that's what I found in regards to doing all the things before I had children, figuring out what worked, figuring out how to build a team, figuring out how to rely on people, less micromanaging, more delegation, and hiring trusted sources to
For sure.
fill
You even
those
have,
needs.
I believe, family working with you, right?
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
How long have you been in real estate? So I started in 2010.
2010 is when I started going for my real estate license. I thought it was 2011 is when I
pretty
went
much.
for
I
it.
mean, I started November 2010, so it might as well have been 2011.
Yeah.
And then you started your team when?
Shortly after that. So no, not shortly after that. I would say I started off having an admin 4 or 5 years after being a solo agent. So I started off
Similar
with
to myself
a team.
then. Yeah.
Yeah, I started off in a team and I had an incredible mentor. So that
You started in a team?
I started in a team.
I did not know that. What's the team?
Evan Debrincat.
Oh my God.
Legend.
Yes, I know. Well, he's the listing agent for the house I bought in Georgetown when I moved there. So wow, I had no idea.
Yeah. So he had a team at the time and we met prior to that. And I was telling him I was getting my license. He said, okay, well, come on over when you got it. And I didn't research or interview or anything. I just went straight
right
to him
in.
because you get the feeling about how people are and you can read people. In this industry, you can read people real well and you learn to trust your gut with who you're aligning with, right? And that goes with clients too.
Yeah.
I can read you, I can read your needs, I figure out what you need, and then I will kind of make it possible, make it better for you to give you what you need, right? So anyways, I met him. He was wonderful. He was my mentor, my teammate, my team lead for about 2 years. And then I went solo because he had changed his brokerage to Coldwell Banker.
Okay.
And then I went solo with him because he disabled the team and made solo agents. And that's when I hired admin about 4 years after that.
Wow, incredible.
Yeah.
And what does your business look like now?
So right now we have, it's changed a little bit. Prior to having my son, it was very, very intense, to say the least. It was like 7 days a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes 12-hour days.
Yep. Yeah.
This is not an easy business. It is not easy money, like people think it can be. And it takes a little bit to figure out what you're doing.
Yeah.
And if you put the time in, you are going to see results. No problem. So right now I've got my team. I've got 2 agents on it and part-time admin.
Got it. And are you more like listing heavy or buyer heavy yourself?
Personally, listings. I kind of stepped back from the buying process and delegated that over to team members. I would say 5 years ago.
Okay. So similar to myself.
Yeah.
I mostly work on the listing side myself. And I love it, honestly. Working with sellers, it's just we have systems in place. So, I mean, what are your thoughts? Like, would you rather work on the selling or buying side?
Honestly, I love both, but I have more confidence and more time for listings.
Yeah.
So with buyers, I figure out their needs and then figure out where they want to go and then align them with the proper agent that will fit their schedule, fit their lifestyle, and then they can go along with that agent. And I'm there behind the scenes
Of
the
course,
entire
just
time
like
too,
me.
right?
For sure, for
So,
sure.
and the great thing about, like you said, systems, once you've developed those systems, like any business, being in any entrepreneur, once you develop those systems, you can grow as big as you want, or you can, have a medium-sized business, a smaller scale back, whichever you want. And you can just utilize those systems that way.
For sure, 100%. I will say though, buying and selling, being on either side, they're different experiences, right? So the seller side, I would say, is less emotional, right? It's a different skill set. Also, oftentimes they're interviewing top agents as well,
Yeah.
which I find most buyers don't do. So it is different, but what's your like favorite thing and I guess non-favorite thing about working with sellers? I'll share what mine are.
Well, it depends on the seller's circumstance too. Personally, I love creating the space to make it presentable.
So like the before and
Advertising,
after.
staging, marketing, that is one of my favorite parts of listing a home for sure. And knowing, and this is going to sound a little nerdy, but I love analytics. I love knowing what is happening in that direct neighborhood. And every single listing I have, I fall in love with that neighborhood.
I love that.
Right?
Wow.
You
Yeah.
figure
You
out,
immerse yourself.
immerse yourself in it. And so it's not necessarily going to be a neighborhood for me per se, but targeting who is this buyer for this
Yeah,
neighborhood.
makes sense.
And knowing that information is so powerful, and giving that information to your seller is also powerful.
For sure. Yeah. Who's the buyer, right?
Yeah.
Do you find sellers are like educated about the process, would you say? Or do you think that people are still like sort of not understanding like what's about to happen?
Depends if they've been through it with me before
Yeah.
or been through it with another excellent agent before. If they've been through the process with an agent with systems and models in place, they're going to feel powerful, and they're going to know what to expect. And they're also going to know the value that we have.
True. That's such a good point.
Yeah.
I find sometimes, like myself, when I sit with a seller and I explain like the different strategies, right? You can hold offers, you can price at market, like the different options available to them. Sometimes they're like, oh, like I didn't even know that this was an option, or like no one's explained this to me before.
Yeah.
And oftentimes like we over communicate with our sellers and they're like, you know what?
You said that.
I'm not used to this. Like my old agent, like sometimes I hear, oh, my old agent said we had an offer, but I never saw it. And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? Like I just, right? Like we're so transparent in the way that we do business. And I'm sure you're the same.
And I love that you just said that, the over communication, because being an agent with some longevity and some knowledge and, quite a few sales under their belt, what to communicate and what to say to your clients that's going to make sense to them, versus over inundating them with information. You lay it out to them. For example, a market like today, a nicer kind of balanced market, a bit of a buyer market in some
So we're
place.
in 2024, just for our listeners.
Right. Yeah. It's not 2021, right?
Or 2022.
Yeah. So it's a nice, cool, it takes a little bit of time, takes a little bit of patience. So once you tell your client, you set your client up, your seller, with an expectation of how this is going to play out, what's the average days on market around the area, what to anticipate, then you can lean back a little bit on the over communication. And I think this also ties back to being a mom, let's say, setting boundaries for yourself. I love this word, boundaries, setting expectations so that we're not inundating our clients with information that is not pertinent to their sale at this point.
Yeah.
Because you can easily overstress people with a sale, because it's a very stressful time.
I was just going to say it's a stressful process. I mean, we try our best to make it not stressful for people. But I find, one thing that's pretty common I hear from realtors is a lot of people don't have systems. They don't have checklists. Like,
Yeah.
don't you find that's a little bit crazy that someone would hire someone that has no plan?
It's scary. Um, I wouldn't even hire my landscaper that didn't have a seasonal plan for my grass to
Great
grow.
point. Wow, that is
And that's a
intense. Yeah.
service-based industry that has a plan of, okay, you aerate at this time. You don't want to cut your lawn too much because then the grass is not going to grow. It's going to dry out. It's just a system.
Yep.
And once you figured it out, then you're going to flourish.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
I understand you want to maybe help out a friend or support someone, a family member that has just started out. Wonderful. See who they're aligned with. Like if they're aligned with an awesome team lead, or they have an incredible mentor, just ask questions, get curious.
Yeah.
Right? Because, and ask for results. Can you show me what you sold in the area, what you and the team have sold in the area, and what the days on market is, what the pricing is aligned with the other pricing around the area, things like that.
Yeah, I think a huge part of the way that I run the listing side of the business, and I'm sure you're the same, is educating that seller, just like you said, right? So telling them what to expect, what's happening in their neighborhood, what type of a market are we in? Because I just find agents that don't do that, like those are the overpriced listings that don't sell. They sit on the market, the seller ends up terminating, and then it's like everybody's just wasted their time, right? Like time, money, energy, effort for nothing, right?
Yeah. And we see it, I don't want to say often, but there's some really good gems out there, and just do your research. And for instance, we're in competition for listings all the time, right? If let's say I'm in the competition with 3 other agents, and let's just say I've lost it to someone else. This happened before, right?
Of course.
But if I've lost it to another incredible agent,
oh, true.
I'm not sad about it.
Yeah.
If I've lost it to a John, Dick, and Harry guy, I just genuinely feel sad.
Yeah, for
those
you
sellers.
Feel bad for the seller
Because I can see what's going to happen with that. And then now there's going to be a reputation issue with agents, because our reputation in this business, like any entrepreneurial business, is everything.
It's everything. Yeah. And that was part of the reason why I called you when I did, because I just kept seeing your name everywhere. I knew that, you listed a lot of property, and I was like, I really need to talk to her. Right. So that's how we connected.
Yeah.
And it's so true, right? If I wasn't seeing your name everywhere and all the success you had, I would have never reached out. We wouldn't even be here today.
Yeah, that's true. Well, I think that listing that we had in Lisgar was, we were collaborating because you were listing another one.
I think
right?
so.
And information is power. We're all in it together. And also, if we can talk to other agents, then we can create a really awesome foundation. Doesn't matter what brokerage you're with.
For sure. 100%.
If you can communicate with other agents, that we're all in the same boat and we can support each other. How many times have we called each other, say, and just ask a question, this is something I haven't seen before in a sale. What have you done with it before?
Yeah, we haven't seen it all, even though we're veterans kind of in this industry. But back to you being a mom, I think it's incredible, that we were able to have kids and be still busy in real estate. What do you think is the hardest part about sort of having both at the same time?
Well, I think in this day and age where you're required to make a certain amount of money to have a sustainable lifestyle, to provide the needs that your children needs, whether that's, eating organic foods, let's say, just to start. That's not cheap. That's expensive. So the needs of children have gone up tenfold for cost. We all know that. That's why people are having less children. So it is essential that we're making enough income to support our families. And if you can figure out what that income that you need is, then you can prioritize what type of business you're going to lead. Mm-hmm. So the business that I led 5 years ago is not exactly aligned with the business I lead today.
Interesting.
Right? And the business I lead today is not necessarily going to be the same business I lead when my son's 15 and in high school and sports and doing his
So the
thing.
nice thing with real estate is it changes and evolves in
And
terms
you
of what the
determine
business is.
how
Yeah.
much business you want to do.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
Every day you determine how much business you want to
Amazing.
do.
And the other amazing thing is that at this stage in the game, you and I am sure we would agree, we pick and choose the clients that we work with, right? Whereas when
Absolutely.
we started, wasn't that way. But now it's like, you know what? You're not that nice of a person,
Yeah.
or this isn't worth
Or
the
you're not
money.
serious.
Or you're not serious and you don't take the listing. Like motivated sellers are everything, right? What's
Yeah.
the motivation? But I just love that, we don't have to take all the business that comes to us if we don't feel like it's a right fit.
Absolutely. It's all about the energy. You want to align yourself with the same type of energy you're giving out. You want to align yourself with that energy too, because you want it to be reciprocal.
For sure. A lot of times when I meet an agent where I'm like, oh, wow, that was abrupt, or, not the nicest person. I'm like, clients are probably the same as the agent.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Apple doesn't fall far.
It can be.
Doesn't fall. What's the
Far
saying?
from the tree.
Yeah.
It can be. Or it could be someone, I find sometimes like a very overly confident agent, very abrupt, kind of almost bullyish, because there's different strokes for different folks, right? Tends to attract a very like introverted, sometimes meek, mild person.
Because they need someone to take the reins.
Right. So, but there has to be a healthy balance
Yeah.
in that. There's a way of interacting with your client and making sure that they feel comfortable and confident without demeaning them or bulldozing them or them feeling they got out of that. They just left a tornado.
What just happened?
Yeah. Like, did I just survive a tornado? You shouldn't feel like that.
Yeah.
If you feel like that, shop around. If
Yeah.
if you get that feeling from someone, ask questions, don't be afraid to source out someone that feels good, that makes you feel good inside and that you can trust.
Yeah.
Because trust is huge.
No, trust is huge. Trust is everything.
Yeah.
When working with sellers too, I find the best relationships are ones where the sellers fully trust us. And when I have sellers where they're like, Cynthia, whatever you think, right? Like to me, that's like you said, everything that someone would say, you know what? You are leading this and I take your guidance, right? Like whatever it is you say I should do, I'm going to do it, right? Like those for me are like the golden clients, right? Like, I don't know if you agree.
You're the professional. It would be like me going to my lawyer at the end of the real estate transaction and dictating to them, well, I don't know if you've just checked the title properly or, if you've ported the mortgage over properly or the statement of adjustments is off. Whatever it may be. No, they're the professional.
Yeah, that's why you hire them.
Let them do, and they'll get the job done.
And
It's like any service-based industry. It's like when someone's building you a house or finishing your basement. Do your homework.
Yeah.
Find the contractor that has the good reviews. Don't be afraid to say, hey, those reviews that you have up on whatever website, can I call? Which one can I call to see if they're real people?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Just
for sure.
ask
Especially
questions.
nowadays, there's so much out there like in the web, right? Like back in the day, like I don't even know if there was Google reviews. Like when we started in real estate, I feel like it wasn't really a thing, but
when we just started real estate, that's when Google came out, when we started doing Google websites and
no, things have changed so much, like in real estate and life in general. Like we're living in different times, right? I'm curious because, as of December 1st, I think it was with TRESA, the Trust in Real Estate Services Act that, no one was super thrilled about, but I do like the RICO guide now that it's been around for a while, made things more transparent. Sellers were able to be more transparent with offers, with open offers and this sort of thing.
Yeah.
There was a lot of discussion about it, I feel like in the beginning of the year, but now I feel like it's not really a topic anymore. Did you ever adopt this way to sell homes?
No.
Yeah. Like, isn't
What
it
about
strange?
you?
No. It was something like we set up a call with the two different platforms. We looked into it, but it just never really gained traction. That's the thing. I find Canadians were very conservative, right? Like if we do something one way, all the time, it's very hard for people to pivot and change.
And also, I think it's human nature that you want your privacy too. And there's certain ways of listing a home where it can be invasive, or offer process can be very invasive. And you don't necessarily want everybody knowing exactly what bids you got on your house, because it kind of reflects on you as a person if you're very emotionally attached to it, right?
For sure.
And I think there has to be a privacy and respect to privacy.
Well, Canadians, we're all about privacy. The laws here compared to the States, it's a whole other ball game. Yeah. So interesting. That never really caught on. It never gained traction. We'll see. Maybe it'll come back in the future, right? Like they say, like, auction style type websites, the whole process being more removing agents, right?
Yeah.
And making it easier for people to just like bid online. I mean, I don't know. Do you think it'll come back and we might see that in a few years?
That's a good question. I have never, no, I just don't see how that could work. There's too many moving parts involved. A robot cannot do our job.
Did you hear that, robots? You cannot do our job.
Back off, AI.
Yeah.
I like to use words that are not scripted coming out of my mouth. And sometimes you can tell when I text you because I've got a toddler pulling at my arm, and you can tell that maybe I have a toddler pulling at my arm.
Yeah, no, AI has its place for sure, but I think, I think real estate, like you said, too many emotions, feelings, things going left, things going right.
It's never the same deal. So every house is different. Every person that owns the house is different. Every sale is different. Every buyer, it's not a transaction where it can be, manufactured in a warehouse on a process line.
Very fluid. Yeah. And it's always changing.
So unless you can figure out a robot that thinks like a human being consistently and can be emotionally attached and understand the energy that's being put towards them, and vice versa.
I'm sure there's someone working on that right now.
Oh, yeah. Hey, I'll buy that robot and put them on my team then.
Yeah. I mean, maybe doing showings can change and be a little bit easier, but yeah, I feel like we'll have to see what comes, right? Like driverless cars in a few years.
Already showings have changed. With the first platform is online, looking online. If it doesn't look great online, if it's not show ready, people are not even going to see it.
Yeah. So everyone starts their search online.
Before, when real estate first, started a little bit before our time, they had books.
Yeah, the books.
And the agent is the one that chose all the houses. And you just met with your agent that day and they took you to all these different houses. Now the buyer does have more control.
100%. Oh, the buyer's got a lot of powers nowadays. Yeah.
They can see,
and that's why a seller needs someone to represent their best interests, right? So you can be what they call a self-represented party as a buyer out there.
Yeah.
But, sellers typically hire realtors to help them through the process because it's a whole thing, right? It's not, just an easy process to navigate. So.
And again, with buyer systems and models, it's the back leg work that they're not even seeing we're doing before we meet you in front of the house.
Oh, there's so much.
We're checking to see what the sales are on that street. We're checking to see what the average sale price is in that community. We're seeing when the last sale was in that community and how much the market has increased, decreased since that time. There's a lot of analytics and a lot of research that goes behind the scenes.
And you got to know,
like
if I'm looking at, like right now as an agent, I'm looking at this year's sales. Like I'm not looking at 2022, right? Like, so there's just so much that goes into selling a home, which, we could talk for hours about this, but I do want to say thank you to you for coming on the podcast today. It was an absolute pleasure.
Yeah.
Where can people find you if they want to connect with you, Samantha?
Well, I'm on all those lovely social media platforms.
all the places.
All the platforms. So it's the Read Estate Team on Instagram. And so it's at the Read Estate Team. And I'm Samantha Read. So you can look us up on Facebook, or I have a website. And my main office is out of Glen Williams in Georgetown, Halton Hills.
Glen Williams.
It's beautiful.
So beautiful, that little hamlet.
I can see Copper Kettle from my window.
Amazing. Well, thank you. And thank you for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode and want to see more, remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and head over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify for the audio version. Thank you.